Hey guys, it's Sherry from Legend Actually, and I'm back just like I promised. Today is Thursday, and I want to do a quick recap on Married at First Sight. Wow, I don't know if you guys watched last night, but it was a really good episode. It's funny because I particularly like Married at First Sight or shows of that nature because there is an aspect of the experts, meaning therapists that are involved. Sometimes it kind of lets you self-reflect on your own relationships or why you do what you do in relationships, whether it be your marriages, boyfriend, girlfriend relationships, partners, friendships, whatever. I mean, kind of like why we do the things that we do, right? So last night was pretty prolific for me. I really found it to be a good episode. So I'm excited about the season. It's a slow burn. So this is about episode 3 or 4. And this was their last day of the honeymoons. So it was actually a very telling episode. So we have the couples that we'll discuss, but the main couple that I want to focus on for today's podcast is Lauren and Orion. Guys, we got to unpack a lot there. But there is Lauren and Orion. There is Emily and Brennan. There's Claire and Cameron. And we also have, that's it. So we have Lauren and Orion, Emily and Brennan, and Cameron and Claire. Okay, there we go. Now, we open up with the carryover from last episode with Lauren and Orion when they'd had a late night dinner, which a lot of the couples did, and they decided to talk about sex. Most of the couples have not consummated. I don't think any of the couples have consummated a marriage at this point, and that's okay. I mean, they literally have known each other for a week. But so at the dinner, Lauren and Orion discuss the possibilities of a sexual relationship and what it would entail to get them there, to get to that point in their relationship. They have been very, and let me just let's go back, okay? Because I do this a lot. You know what I mean? Like I always start talking about something. I'm like, hold on, let me go back. But I do want to say that I will credit these couples very heavily with the fact that they are very good at communication as far as communicating their needs, their thoughts, their revelations on their experiences, and they really have been good individually as couples communicating and then as a group, because a lot of times on Married at First Sight, the couples come together and kind of share, and sometimes they do it with just and in this episode they particularly did that well as well. They had the females come together and the males come together to kind of share where they were in the experience, and I think on this particular season they do a very good job of expressing their experiences and communicating where they're at, their needs, their thoughts, even encouraging each other. I really think that that's a plus. I don't know how many of you guys watched last season. Tennessee was a good season, but it seemed like it was driven by one only couple that really kind of had it together, and it was the female of that couple that kind of drove all the conversation. She was like the mom bear. This time it seems like everybody has enough emotional and excuse me, I'm sorry, let me back it up. Enough emotional maturity to really dive deep into where they're at and why. So I enjoy that very, very much. So let's talk about Lauren and Orion. So they were at dinner, and Orion had really delved into the fact that he was particular about sex. It had been a year or so since he's been with anyone sexually. And particularly, he explained to Lauren that that's because he has a hard time giving himself to someone because of what it means to him. And that's pretty cool, I think, in this day and age, more people should take it seriously. It is a serious exchange. It's up to the individual for sure. But I enjoyed what he said about for him, what it meant to him. I have a problem with Lauren not reading the room, guys, because if a partner told me that he had abstained for over a year for simply the reason that it meant so much to him, I certainly would not come back with, oh yeah, well, I had sex 2 months ago. Child. I had such high hopes for that couple, particularly because she is a beautiful Black woman and he's a Native American man, very handsome. And, I kind of wanted to see those cultural differences come together and make this beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, the experts put them together for a reason, right? I don't know. Listen. Okay, so I have my thoughts, and we'll delve deeper into that. I'll touch on the other couples only lightly today because I will do a little deeper dive into that a little bit later in the season. Like I said, we have Claire and Cameron. We have, Emily and Brennan, and we have Becca and Austin. Okay, and I'll only briefly, very, very briefly touch on them on this episode because today, really, my focus is on Lauren and Orion. So bear with me, guys. I'm a fan of all shows reality, but you can't necessarily go into every single scene really without coming into the things that you want to highlight. So today, it's about Lauren and Orion. Okay. All right. So we're good? We're square? Yes. The other couples are amazing, and we're going to dive deeper into those later, I promise. But let's just talk about Lauren and Orion today, or tonight. So she says that she actually had sex 2 months prior. Now, keep in mind, in this process, apparently, it took 2 months, or it was probably about approximately 2 months before each individual was let know that they had found a match. And in that order, they became officially engaged. So from Orion's perspective, and I respect that, he felt like at the point 2 months ago, he felt he was engaged, and that any kind of giving yourself to anyone else was a form of cheating. Though he didn't really say that verbatim in the episode, that was his energy, right? Okay. Lauren, I think, felt like until she actually was in the process, meaning that she was getting ready to, she got the ring, she was getting her dresses, the whole process that led up into the honeymoons, that's when she felt like she was officially engaged, I'm assuming. Sis, though, you shouldn't have told him that. Again, I say there's something about reading a room. I don't understand, these people sign up for this, and then, because marriage is a commitment. Certainly it isn't easy, and we're talking about people that get married on site, right? And so off the rip, you are learning someone that you have made a commitment to that you don't even know. So I would think that in my opinion, my spidey senses would be super aware of what is that person feeling about what I'm saying. I wouldn't want to offend. I certainly wouldn't want to turn off the person that I felt like I had found because experts had put me with them and had turned them off. Okay. But Miss Ma'am decided that's what she would share. Okay. So he proceeds to say, well, at this point, she asked him, because they're a very touchy-feely couple, how does that make you feel? And he was honest. He said, quite frankly, it makes me feel like sex is off the table. And child, that's when it all went left. You could legit see the shift in her face. She was mad. Mm, understand, right? Because I felt like they were just about to get there. They have been very touchy-feely through this whole process, very, very vocal about their feelings. Um, I don't know if you guys know, but the particular two of them are fluid. And so she's had relationships with women, and he's really had relationships with men. He presents, he's more of a feminine type male, and she's very more of a masculine energy female. But I feel like that's why the experts put them together, and that's okay. Perfectly fine. I had high hopes for them. I really did. Okay, so later in that evening, they get into it over the whole sexual contact thing and really start to argue. She is not liking his energy shift in that, and so she prefers to have a quiet dinner. Cool. You then see them in bed, pillow talking as they clearly like to do, because if you'll get into the episode, clearly they stay up late, very late into the wee hours talking or arguing. I don't know which one, but nonetheless, they stay up late discussing things. Okay. At any rate, they are in the bed, and Miss Ma'am is mad. She says it makes her feel like he thinks that his commitment to the process is more valid than hers because she agreed to engage in a sexual tryst 2 months prior to the process or within the process. And it makes her feel, I guess, less validated as far as her being serious about the commitment. And okay, I'll grant her that, because yeah, it gave that off. It did give judgy, but let's be clear. What man that has saved himself for a year and change was here this woman didn't, and was clearly engaging in sex with somebody 2 months prior to them sitting down. It just doesn't give good sense. Lauren, really? I was so disappointed because I had high hopes for you guys. You know what I mean? I really felt like that was a good match. And we will rewind on the issue that is what keeps them on the cusp of next week, where it seems as though we may lose them as a couple. Child, I cannot. Okay, but here's where I want to get at, because I want to take this with that and wrap it up. I promise, guys, I won't be long tonight because I know we all have things to do. I just promised I was going to recap it, and last night was a really good episode. So here we go. So they get into it, and Lauren proceeds to not be liking that he felt like it made him take a step back. She kept kind of, in my opinion, berating him as they discussed it. With that, as sisters, sometimes it's a tone. Not sisters, all of us, all women. If you feel like someone is judging you, it makes you angry, and her tone elevated. And I felt like she kind of had him in a choke hold that night. Like, I'm not letting you sleep till you stop acting like I'm less than you because I was in a sexual tryst 2 months before we are sitting here today. All right. We didn't see the whole exchange, but we get the next morning as they get about their day, and it seems as though they were up all night arguing. And you do see snippets of her kind of like, well, I don't feel safe anymore because you said this, and I don't feel like, now I feel unsafe, and you made me feel this way, and blah blah blah. And it seems like Orion's very sensitive, not, by the way, taking his side, saying my observation, guys. And for those that aren't watching it, I will let you know they are the interracial couple. She is an African American woman, and he is a Native American man, Navajo Indian, actually, specifically. Navajo, Native American. I apologize. And so, um, they go on all night, and then he the next day says, you know, it is what it is. He's like, nah, I don't even care. That was 2 months ago. He lets her have it. I mean, because how many times are you gonna argue all night, go back and forth, where you're just like, sis, you got it. You got it. All right, I'm good. Yep, Joe wasn't bad. 2 months is good. I don't even care no more, child. You got it. Rough, man. Because wish she would have listened to why and understood that he valued himself to not give himself to someone, and that perhaps loose lips sink ships. That should have been her time to maybe keep it to herself. I'm not a proponent for lying. I'm saying read the room, which is why she got in trouble on this next incident. So, there's also an incident prior that also spills into this episode that goes into the end, where the two of them are enjoying each other, getting closer, you know, hanging out, as they all did on their honeymoon, as you would. They're in Cancun, and they're in the hot tub, and he's expressing to her, growing up as a Native American man, and some of the racist jokes that he's had to endure. And child, you know, again, I told you she was an African American woman. Okay, African Americans out there, there's a lot of things we let slide growing up. Maybe that we'd even know better on, like, little jokes. Heck, even old school cartoons, just like, ugh, we thought that was funny. It's disgusting. You feel me? But you know, it's education, right? And people say, oh, we're so woke, but it's time to wake up, right? Because some things just were not okay. Okay? So from his perspective, I totally get it. And I got it. And he was sharing with his wife. It's important when you're in interracial relationship, and particularly intercultural relationship, right? Because you have to respect each other's culture and race and the things that come with that. And he had, you know, she had told him many things about what we went through. She's explaining our hair situation. She even introduced him to the bonnet, child. Good bonnet is everything. You feel me? And he was like totally receptive. Okay. I mean, she talked about hair and things. And I mean, there were other things. I mean, there were so many things with us, right? And that would be over time that he would learn them. But he was open. Okay. And I love that about him. And then when he told her about, okay, have you ever heard the term redskin? She said, yeah, but you know, I never really thought about it. And then she's like, oh, yeah, but she laughs and says, yeah, your skin is red, like, because you're red skin. And it really deeply offended him. Y'all, we had to rename a whole football team because of how derogatory it is. You know, it's funny because if you're not in it, you don't get it, right? Like, if someone called me colored, it would piss me off. But somebody white may not understand why. When people say Oriental for Asians, they're like, oh, well, that's what they used to be called. But it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. Redskins, it's not okay. You know, just because of things that have been ingrained in us and things that we've accepted over the years because we really didn't know any better or had no choice, it does not make it okay. Okay? So let me preface this by saying, Orion, I stand with you and Native Americans, and I cannot stand the statement of Redskins. That's wrong. So he took the time to educate her about what it meant and the derogatory meaning behind it. Scalping Native Americans and the red skin that was left after you take the meat off of their heads. It's disgusting. Deplorable. Her joke was way off base. But let me say this. She did seem extremely sorry, very apologetic. Of course, as from minority to minority, she understood that, off-color jokes are so hurtful. But I think it went deeper than that. And I'm gonna tell you two things that went deeper than I think what she knew, and this is why we got to where we got in that episode. So she did apologize. She made a really big deal about their fight about the whole sexual thing. They spoke with an expert, Dr. Pia, which is new. I liked her though. I loved her resolution skills. She was really good at it, and it made them hear each other. He pretty much digressed it back with the fact that he was so strong about her being sexually active 2 months prior to their interaction. However, he had pulled it back by that time and said that he truly was okay, and he felt like he failed her in the marriage because he made her feel judged, not safe, and they spoke about it. It seemed to be resolved. The incident where she had made the off-color joke, the racist joke about what hurt him and his culture, she said she was sorry, and he said he was forgiving of that, but yet it resurfaces. But let me just say this, and by no means let me say, am I condoning what she did, because I am not. I have grown up in a culture where I grew up in an environment that was predominantly white, and so I've had to endure lots of those types of little innuendo jokes, and some of them went right over my head because I didn't know any better. As I've grown and I've understood what things were and what things meant, I wouldn't allow such a thing today. It wouldn't happen. No ma'am, no sir. However, there's ignorance, and I think that a lot of those jokes could have been based off ignorance, right? When you learn better, you do better. When you learn better and you know better, you require better. And I require better today. Trust. But I think what happened is, with the fight, when he tried to stand up for himself about what he felt about her being so free about having a casually sexual encounter prior to their encounter, made him feel like she didn't value the process as much as he did. And that was his truth. And that, quite frankly, was A-okay. But I think her tone and her anger and the fact that she argued with him all night, he revealed that it brought up for him feelings of when he had to protect his mother and his sister from his stepfather. So that's something else, guys. Sometimes we don't realize things that we do or say that trigger things that really have nothing to do with that brings up other things. Relationships are complicated, and that's why communication is so key. You have to give the person that space to let you really, truly know how they feel or where they're coming from, so that you can understand why they react the way they react. I'm 50 years old, and I'm just really getting my arms around it. I think communication is a lovely thing. And sometimes truths are hard to accept. It's hard to accept that you hurt people you love, or that you like, right? But I think it's very much key to be open to it, because that is how you grow, learn, and change, and evolve, and grow closer to people. And that's when people truly feel safe around you. And so when he did reveal in front of, it wasn't in front of the Dr. Pia, it was in front of Dr. Cal. He called in because it was right before the couples were leaving from the island from their honeymoon experience. And he said, he just couldn't, he had revealed to Lauren actually before that he needed space. So they had separated for a while when everybody else was kind of like canoodling, playing games. And that's the part I would like to get into later in the season about the other couples. They had times, but there are some situations with them where we're talking about religion, differences in space. Some people are very independent. Learning how to live together and learning how to communicate, and that's a separate aside. But tonight I want to focus on this couple because of the interracial aspect and the interesting dynamics of two minorities that couldn't understand the hurt of racial slurs. Yeah. So Dr. Cal, he certainly looked very concerned when he was called. So he had called after Orion had contacted him right before they left the island about how he just was feeling unsettled in the marriage. He called in Lauren, and Lauren had reacted prior to him calling by just getting infuriated because they stayed up again. Child, they probably need to get some rest. They was up again all night fussing about the fact that he didn't feel safe with her because of that comment that she had made in the hot tub. And so, as a result, he just couldn't get past it. She said she wanted a divorce, took her ring off. Okay. You know, when you get mad, you say stuff you don't mean. But sometimes, like when you're new in something, you really have to be careful what you say. Particularly when a wound is fresh, right, guys? So, at any rate, I'm just, it is really, it makes me wonder sometimes. And I love the dynamics. I mean, the experts get it right sometimes, but they get it so wrong so many times. In this particular essence, I haven't got high hopes for the two of them, but I think it's a good conversation piece. When he brought it up again, I think there's reasons of why he has a hard time forgiving her, though she was truly sorry for what she said. I think he's on a national show where he's representing his culture. And I've been watching Married at First Sight for years. I don't recall a Native American man being on there, particularly a fluid one. I'm sure he's had to endure a lot of ridicule. And so he's probably very sensitive to the fact that if he brought home a wife that thought it was funny to be called a redskin because his skin was red and not hearing what he was saying, that's hard to kind of come back from. Though he should have forgiven her because she really was sorry. And if anybody can feel what he felt, she surely could have, right? I think that perhaps, and this is solely Sherry's opinion, so guys, you can put in the comments yours, but my opinion is, I don't think he just is that into her. I really don't. I think he has a kind heart and a kind soul. I don't think he was attracted nor really into her like that. They had the right dialogue. I think she got way too comfortable too fast before really solidifying that he was where she was. I could be wrong, guys. Again, my opinion. That's what this podcast is about. Just discussing the shows. Like, I love dialogue. And I want you guys to dialogue back. I love to see some things in the comments. So please comment, subscribe, and share. But my thing is, I think that he kind of freaked out. I don't think he was comfortable with his match. He's such a good-natured guy. I think he would have forgiven her if there were other dynamics there. I think her delivery when they argued was something that he can't take. I think feeling like he had to protect his mom and sister from his stepdad, who was an overbearing character in his life, that really made him recoil back into that time. And I feel like she triggered that in him. And so that's what the real issue is. You heard it here first. That's Sherry's version anyway. But keep tuning in, guys. This is so intriguing. I really, finally, it's a slow burn with Married at First Sight sometimes, but when they get it, they get it. So I'm invested, and I want you to be invested too. So I will be recapping Married at First Sight on Thursdays. Please tune back in, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again. Thank you for everyone that's viewed me, that's messaged me on Instagram and said they will follow me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is just something I want to do, guys, because I really love reality shows. And, you know, I kind of just want to share my thoughts. I often am on the phone with my family or my friends that I watch with. And I thought, why not share this with other people that enjoy this? I think I got my first idea to do this when I was at BravoCon. I don't think I've ever felt as connected with people, and it sounds really strange, guys, but at BravoCon, We all watch the same shows, and we talked about these shows and these Bravo Labs as if we knew them because we were so connected with these shows. I figured, you know what? That's a real deal. You right? So like we watch the same shows. We're rocking for these same people. We may have different opinions and ideas about what we're watching, but I think it's a great discussion piece. And I love a good discussion. So put them in the comments, questions, comments, things you want to talk about, things you want to be recapped, or even things that you want me to address. Let's do it. Disagree, agree, I don't care. Like and share and subscribe, and I'll be back actually Monday to recap again Real Housewives of Potomac and Married to Medicine. And we will also try to get in there another one for Love and Marriage Huntsville and Real Housewives of Miami and Beverly Hills. Lots to talk about, guys. It's so exciting. Please come back. It's been a pleasure. I'm Sherry again with Alleged Actually. Thank you again for tuning in. Come on back. I'll be back on Monday. You see me there. Thanks, guys.